Slapping your gums with Vinny and Hessey. Yeah.
All right, dude, we are back.
About time.
I know, right? I'm Hessey. This is Vinny. I went on my screen. It's
yep,
this
that's
way.
right. No, that's correct.
I don't know, but every time I look at it on YouTube, I think it's this way. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's all the same, right? All right, dude. Well, we're back. We missed a week just due to stuff. We had. I went on a mission trip, so we had to miss a week. Well, I got the one out before I left, but then when I got back, there was just not enough time to get one dropped on us. So, well, here we are. So, Vinny, how did? Let's hear about, I guess, your week while I was gone.
It was boring. This week while you were gone was boring. I didn't get to talk to you at all while I'm driving around. And then even the week, this last week that you were kind of back and we were trying to hook up our time and get set up and everything, it was like we just couldn't connect on throwing one in last week. So, but yeah, it's like I'm driving around. I'm like, oh, I need to call. No, can't call Sean. He's in another country, so couldn't handle that. It was boring. It was rough. Some of my friends at work were like, why are you calling me so much? And I'm like, because my brother's gone and I haven't got nobody to talk to.
Yeah, well,
Stop
I mean, that makes
calling
me feel good. It makes me feel good. Thank you for missing me. At least somebody did.
I didn't send
and
text to
today, you. Happy Father's Day, bro.
Happy Father's Day,
so that's cool.
Yeah.
So good. At least great for having kids, so we could have a day. Not that it made any difference to the day. I guess I went to church today, so that was cool.
That's way good. But
we
went over to Mom and Dad's for dinner. So
yeah, what'd you guys have?
I think they had a little bit of a brisket, some chicken, some other meat. They put all on their smoker.
Tube steak?
No tube steak.
Oh, good. You probably shouldn't be having tube steak at Mom's. Be weird.
That'd be way weird.
Did Kevin and his family go over there?
Kevin and his family was there. Jesse and Nicole and their family was there. So yeah, there was a whole slew of people there.
You guys had a crew.
Yeah, we had two cornhole sides going, so got into the whole cornhole thing, and that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take when I told you I'd be home by 6. I was like, great, we gotta go.
Well, it kind of worked out. I had a fire call, and then just then getting back just to get dinner going. We did shish kebabs. So
nice.
They were pretty good. Yeah.
Shish kebabs like beef, chicken, pork?
Chicken. We did chicken, like chicken thighs, chunks of chicken thigh, and then like bell peppers and onions, and seasoned them up and threw them on the smoker.
Like every other.
That was good.
Like chicken, bell pepper, chicken.
Yeah. Chicken,
onion.
bell pepper, onion. Yeah, roger that.
That's nice. That's way nice.
That was it.
No, I did get this little setup here. I'm trying to figure it all out.
Let's hear about that.
Oh, Emily got me this for my Father's Day present. I got a mixer and a boom, and it came with 2 mics, headphones. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure it all out. It's got all these sound effects and stuff, but as we've learned in the very first few minutes before we started recording, I don't know when the sounds are going off because some reason these headphones make you echo. So it'll take a minute for us to kind of figure this out. So
we'll figure out what it's doing. Maybe just I don't know, something. It's got to just be in a certain port.
Yeah, there's so many ports in the back.
Hit that pew pew sound effect.
The pew pew machine gun.
Like.
All right, here we go.
Yeah,
there you go.
That.
Machine gun. There you go.
There it is. That's it.
There it is.
Machine
gun.
Vinny.
Hold it. Here we go. And this is what this is what Sean tells me all the time when we talk on the phone. He's like, I'm going to punch you in the throat, next time I see you. So if we hold this down like that, this is what he's going to, that's what he's going to do. He's going to.
I think you got to do it without talking because it's hard to hear it.
Oh, okay. We'll do it one more time.
There we go. That's there. It's like kung fu right there.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I have to tell Vinny I'm going to punch him in the throat because he knows we're far away from each other, and he gets mouthy.
I told Mom while we were at the thing, I'm like, hey, I got to go. I got to go do a podcast. She goes, no, you don't. And I was like, what do you mean? Did you tell Sean you weren't doing a podcast today? And I'm like, no, I'm doing a podcast when we get home. So
why is she hating on it, woman?
I think she was just having too much fun. I think she was.
Well, Well, so just because you guys left, everybody left, or what?
I don't know. We left first, so
Yeah,
I mean-
so they can carry on.
4 hours was a good amount of time to be over there.
That seems legit.
Yeah, it was good. It was
Mom,
good.
don't be selfish. Well, I know you're
yesterday-
gonna listen to this, Mom, so don't be selfish about it.
I know. She says she learned.
You got to share.
She was telling some people. She's like, I've learned so much about these boys when I was listening to their podcast stuff that I never knew. And I'm like, yeah, I'll bet there is.
There's still plenty more, Mom.
Yeah, we were talking to Jesse, and I was telling him that because his stepmom was asking us like what we talk about. I'm like, just this and that. I says, you know, like when I delivered, there was a lot of Hispanics on my route, and I says when they were talking to me, there was a lot of times that I'd start trying to talk back to them the way they were talking to me. And Jesse's like, dude, I do the same thing at work. You know, this guy walks in and it's like, oh yeah, man, we can paint your car. It'll be no problem to paint your car. And everybody looks at him like, you're so racist.
Dude,
It's like,
the best thing would be if all of a sudden the Mexican guy just turns and talks just the same way as I'm talking right now.
right.
You'd be like, what? Why are you talking like that? And you'd be like, holy jeez, dude, my bad. I apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry, Essay.
It was rough. But yeah, so like we were just talking about like stuff like that, and I do. He's like, everybody does it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think Sean does it, so that's why he makes fun of me so much for it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think the next time. Well, I was in Jamaica and I did not talk like a Jamaican. So
are you sure?
I guess.
Are you sure
Yeah,
you didn't
man.
talk like it? Yeah, man.
yeah, man, no problem.
You came home talking like one though.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what's
So
up?
does
Yo,
that.
man, how you doing,
Yeah,
man? What's
yeah,
up?
man.
Yeah, man.
No problem. Just
So, yeah.
chilling. So on to that. So we went on a mission trip through a rad church that we have been following and stuff. And I've talked to you, Vinny, and sent you some clips and stuff to it, or I guess like message so you could go on there and look at it. Their sermons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a Church of 1122. So they do a mission trip, a family mission trip to Jamaica. So COVID kind of came in and did like put the whole kibosh on it, because especially like those other countries, some other countries like, you know, did a lot more
Restrictions.
lockdown of it.
Yeah.
Like still, like the infirmary, like you still had to wear a mask, and they'd still only let, you know, so many people in and stuff like that. But it was epic, man. It was rad. So we went to we left and went to Jacksonville, because that's where the church is based out of, is Jacksonville. And we've just been following them online, you know, became members and stuff through online, and just kind of then backtracked in and started watching all their sermons and stuff like that. Pastor Joby's the guy. He's the main guy. Like, he's the big dude. And so he actually ended up being on this mission trip. It was like the A team going. So it was like Pastor Joby and his family went, and I mean, this guy pastors to thousands of people,
That's cool.
right? So it's just a huge church, and so for me, going into it is like, you know, I'm like, of course, I'm 100% believe in, you know, Jesus Christ and God, and you know, want to look to Him, and everything is through and because of Him, but like going on a mission trip, I mean, let's be legit. Like, I'm just a dude, right? Like, I'm not going to say like I'm super, I'm into the Bible 100% the gospel, but I can't just go quoting scripture, and you know, I'm not a preacher or a teacher type guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more of that down to earth dude. So my first initial, I was worried, like kind of nervous, like just praying, like, Lord help, like me, you know, with my nerves and stuff, like I'm going on a missions trip, dude. I ain't never done a missions trip. You know what I mean? And here we're going. I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to go with, I don't know how else you want to put, a bunch of stiffs, you know, a bunch of churchy dudes and people. You know, I'm thinking, golly, this is, you know, I'm more like a real life guy. Like, you got to deal with life and, you know, give it up to God type thing. It wasn't that bad. So we went there. Long story short, these dudes are rad. Like, they're epic, man. Like, they're super cool. They're huge into their faith. They're big time believers and just humble as could be. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
there was like Pastor Joby. There was like a couple other pastors that he had there, and these guys, they're like big. They're huge guys too. Like they do the worship team, so they play the music and stuff, but they also do sermons and stuff. Like if they have to, fill in at different churches and stuff like that. So they're big time into it too. One's a theologist and stuff. So once we got there, and the crazy thing of it is, like, we didn't know anyone, not a single person. Like, we didn't know anybody there.
Right, because they follow online in other states and other places.
Well,
right?
they do, but most of the people that usually go on these mission trips are from Jacksonville.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they all know each other somehow through, and there were still a lot of them. More so of them were from Jacksonville and from that church. But even like there was a couple other families there, but like they did like a men's retreat thing with that church. So they met some of those people prior to and that. So it was a big deal, but like it was encouraging to people too, because here we are, little family of 3 coming from Nevada, and we don't know anybody. We're just, go on faith, you know what I mean? Let the good Lord lead us where he wants us to go. And It was an epic trip, man. Like, and it ended up being, like they said, there was a couple families there also that were like from Michigan, a couple families in Michigan, a family from Texas,
nice,
and stuff like that. So that was super cool. And everybody just like jived. They all got together. Everybody was like, got along. The kids got along. It was cool. There was construction and stuff that we were going to do, and there's VBS, which is the Vacation Bible School for like the kids. So where we stayed, it was like a resort. They like loosely call it a resort. It's like sometimes you have running water, other times you wouldn't. Yeah,
right,
so
like let me ask you this, because we didn't get into it too much this week, because we didn't get, like, you were working a lot, I was working a lot. So you went to Jacksonville, okay, and you stayed there for 2 days before you took off, right?
Yeah, so we went to Jacksonville and stayed there a couple days before, and then we went to church to 1122 because we just wanted, we're there, might as well go check. This church is bad. Like, they got all the seating in the front, but it's so big. They got like theater, like stadium, seating all the way up. There's probably, I would guess, 1,000 people there Sunday.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was super cool though. The music is rad. The spirit there, you come out of there like wanting to do good with Jesus. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they put it together. They do well.
All right. So,
but it's humid, hot, humid.
Florida.
Show up to Jacksonville, coming from Nevada, drier than a popcorn fart here.
Right.
Then you get there and you're like, "Ooh, man, it was warm, humid, cloudy. You had some like stormy days. We stayed in a place right on the ocean, so we did go down to the ocean. Alex and I swam where we got in the ocean and swam and stuff. Of course, Tasha, she just sets up at the beach.
We got to get your tan on.
Yeah, she don't get in the water. But when we went, it was all cloudy by the time we got down there anyway. So she just sat there with the towels on because it was a little bit windy. But that ain't stopping Alex and I. We're all in. So we were, but it was like rip curling. So it was just hammering in. So they had like signs and everything up. Like you had to be careful, dude. I got out there to where I was swimming out into it and told Alexa to stay back. And it was work. Like I eventually turned around and swam back in like, and they were all getting all nervous because I would disappear in all the different waves,
right,
blasting over. But I got out past where the break was.
Okay.
But I had to swim constantly, and I mean kicking and swimming like you're swimming lap swims, just to stay from it not pulling you out, like pulling you along the side, like away from where you're at. Like I'm sure you're slowly getting further out in the ocean, but it's like pulling you. Like the way that rip curl was going. So all of a sudden you'd look up and I'd be
a little bit more sideways.
30 feet from the side of where I was lined up with Tasha. And so I'd have to swim just to stay there. So that was cool. But I didn't Alexa got out about like waist deep, a little higher to where she was trying, but I'd have to hold her and it was just boom. Dude, it was rough. My legs were getting so tired.
So then you guys flew out Monday morning?
So we flew out Monday morning, we all loaded up in the bus super early, drove into Orlando, and then flew out of Orlando to Jamaica.
Nice.
And then we got out of Jamaica, and then you found out what humid was all about.
More humid than Florida.
Oh, yeah, easily.
How long was the flight from Florida to Jamaica?
That's a good question. I want to say 3 hours.
Did you, huh?
2.5.
You watch
2
a
hours,
movie on
40
the plane,
minutes,
or is
something
it
like that?
not
Yeah.
like-
Oh yeah. They had. So we flew JetBlue, which I didn't know JetBlue was that cool. So
I think JetBlue is a partner of Delta, I believe.
is it? I don't know, but they say apparently then when we got there, like they have like the roomiest seats.
Oh,
So
nice.
the in between seats, like their rows, it's huge. Like my knees ain't hitting the seats in front of me or nothing like that. Like they had it going on.
Well, that's good.
So
That's a good
that was
recommendation
super
for
cool.
JetBlue right there, because
Yeah.
you're like 6'5" and
6'4".
You're
So if you're
freaking
tall,
Sasquatch.
JetBlue is the way to go because they
That's
got
good.
the most seat room in between seats.
sorry, Lee.
So yeah, suck it, Southwest. Because I think we flew like United. We flew United the other time. Once
To
we
go
got
from-
into Orlando, then our personal selves.
From
'Cause
Nevada.
we had to
Florida.
buy. Basically, how the mission trip worked is we went through and we send out all these flyers and stuff for like donations and stuff to help with the
Right,
cause, and just kind of a whole little spiel of why we're doing it, and and working through, in God's eye and looking to Him, and like to get out there and just teach those kids and just what we're doing, and the trip, helping to build stuff and just that kind of stuff. So we send out all these flyers, and the craziest thing too is we did get a lot of donations back, and a lot of them were like our friends that aren't even believers,
Right.
which I thought was super cool. So I think that's that's one of the ways that I think that it's also the Lord's working too, is just like that. Like our friends just know how important it is to us,
Right.
and so it just floored me. It just showed like the trueness of God, and like these people that aren't even, like not believers, don't go to church. They have their whole different belief system on it, but just being friends to us, donated money.
Right.
And so it was super cool that way. So we had more donations, which then it's like the sad part of it is we had more donations from like our friends and people outside of the church than we even did people in the church.
Gotcha.
So, not saying we didn't. We got some from people in the church also, but we definitely got a lot more out of it. So, anyway, so how that works is we pay for our stuff regardless. Like we have to, like quarterly or however they divide it up, because you have to be in full before you go on the trip.
Right.
So we were paying for it anyways, and so then the donations just helped, of course, take some off. But once we already paid for everything, any donations that came in then helped other families or a couple or a single or whoever was going that couldn't
Just
quite
went
get
into the
funds.
pot. Yeah. Helped out the whole
then
team.
then it was able. So it all went towards the mission trip no matter what. So
Right.
I thought that was pretty cool too.
That's way cool.
Yeah, so it was rad, dude. The Jamaican people are super cool. They are like, yeah, I'm on. It's like they're chill. the fellowshipping that we got with the people, like the mission people, was by far, it was epic, dude. Like I was telling you, these guys, and that was just because I'm speaking on this because it was my doing, like what I felt. So my nerves, I guess you could say, in that part of it was because of that, like the whole churchy part, and just being like, I'm not a guy that can just rifle off verses out of the Bible and different stuff like that. And it wasn't even that way, which was super cool. But these guys are just down. They're like you and I. You know what I mean? They understand that.
They're
your
like, we don't care how
salvation-
much you memorize. We don't care how much you know.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Yeah,
going to talk
they're-
to you, and if you don't
what you
know, ask
do-
us some questions. Like, and if we know it, we'll tell you. If we don't know it, then, we'll find out in the group, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
that's how
So
it
it's
was.
like, yeah, and so like you would get up in the morning, we'd do quiet time in the morning, we'd read a chapter in the Bible, and then amongst it, everybody would just sit there and read it. We're right there on the ocean, so you're just sitting there looking at the ocean, just getting right with Jesus, reading this passage. Everybody reads the same one, chapter, And then we'd be like, all right, we'll just get into groups. So it's just like random. Everybody kind of just scoots their chair in these groups, families you could call them. And then it would like, our group would get together and be like, all right, well, what verse stuck out? And so each person would read the verse that stuck out in that chapter. Right. And we would all talk about it, and then we would just conversate about what it meant to us, and kind of just growing together in that way. And so it was super rad, because you find out like these guys that are like these big church going guys that are huge in the faith are just like you and I. You know what I mean? Like you just get some places you go to, you know, in churches and stuff that like you feel like they're judging you, or they're judging people, or they're judging the way you're dressed, whatever it may be. There's just a lot of judging going on in certain churches and by certain people, and just like how you feel about that kind of stuff. And these dudes are like pastoring thousands of people, you know, and just helping all these people, and you can just sit there and talk to them, you know, and they understand. They're just like, dude, we've all sinned. We're all sinners. We're like, we've done bad things. You're repented and reborn in Christ, and it's like they're moving on, you know, like keep moving forward, like getting better, always looking to God, and they know it doesn't affect your salvation, like that you got to be going to church, you know, checking the boxes, I guess you could say. Right. Like, so that's just super rad. And then so that part, then once that was good, then I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get into construction, because they're like, we got some construction projects.
Okay, before you start on the construction, I got one little thought.
Questions? Let's hear it, dude. Come on.
So we talked about this when you guys first went to your meetings. Alexa was super funny, because like Tasha, I know, has like certain standards that she likes to try to hit when she's looking for you guys when you guys go out of town on a normal, you know, family vacation.
Like our accommodations.
Your accommodations, yeah, that's a good word for accommodations. Alexa, from what you had said, it was pretty funny about when you guys went to the meetings and stuff, and she was like, "Oh, mom's gonna be a little bit uptight about," because they gave you kind of worst case scenario in your meetings, I believe, on what you guys might get into. Maybe no air conditioning. Maybe the power's on one day but not on the next day. So when you guys got there, you got on a bus, or did you guys drive a rickshaw to your quote unquote like I mean, I'm not sure, like I don't know any of the information on. You get off the plane, you're like, oh sweet, Jamaica's awesome, and then like and then you're like, oh, is that a hut? Like I don't, you know, is that made out of poo? Like I'm not sure like what.
So definitely we weren't in like the tribal areas for sure, but the poverty is for real, and it's far below our poverty. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to say like homeless in a sense.
Right. So it's better than like what they've talked about in San Francisco and Portland. Like they make like homeless tents, cities, and stuff like that.
But the thing is, I think with that in the U.S. there's help, right? So, because I watched like a documentary and stuff, and I'm not saying this is like it is everywhere, but here in the U.S. you could go get assistance, like you go get help, right? But a lot of them choose to be homeless because they don't have to go to shelters, and they don't have to abide by rules, and they don't have to, you know, if they're doing drugs or whatever they're doing, if they go to shelters and stuff, they have to be clean. Right. You can't do that stuff there. So, you know, and I'm not saying this is like in a broad spectrum, but just going over, like, they're kind of choosing. They could go get help, right?
That's here. That's in the U.S. Gotcha.
Over there, it's not. Like, they're doing what they can from what I could see where we were at. Like, they're working, and they're doing the stuff. They just, they don't get paid as much. Like, there's just the money. The stuff is not there. So there's not, like, where we were at. I mean, in probably in, like, so, like, your big paying jobs and stuff, like good jobs, are the resorts. Because there are resorts. And it's like, you drive. So we get in, we fly into Jamaica.
Yeah.
You go out, and it's just like,
what do you get on to drive to your area?
Super noisy. So we didn't have anything when we first got there. They're like, there's a bus. We're going to take a bus. So we're all going to load up, but we're all going to take all your luggage and you set it right out here, and we're waiting for this bus. So we were waiting for Pastor Wayne, which has been pastoring Faith Tabernacle since they started doing mission trips for like 20 years or whatever. So he has it set up for Pastor Max, who runs his own bus, right? And there's another guy named Joel. So we have two guys.
Do they live there?
Yes, they are Jamaican.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So we thought it was a big bus, because that's what we rode out of Jacksonville, was we all piled on one big charter bus and went to Orlando. So it wasn't. Two buses, small ones, like they drive on the wrong side of the car and they drive on the wrong side of the street.
All right.
Like,
and there's
like
windows on
European
this bus, or is it
drive.
just open air?
No, it's a nice bus. It's got AC, but it's like one of those, like, I don't know, I want to say maybe they're like a Toyota, like those Toyota like 19 passenger ones. So they got double seats on the one side and then a single seat on the other.
So almost like
there's a little hallway,
like a senior citizen bus.
Sort of like that, yeah. Yeah, they're just like a big passenger bus, but they're still more AC's going perfect. But they're like, you got to leave your luggage because there ain't enough room for everybody's luggage. There's no storage on them. They're like, we have a truck that will throw all your luggage in. So everybody's like, what?
So you got on the bus while the luggage is sitting on the curb.
Correct. They're like, just leave it here. We'll keep an eye on it. Okay. And we're like, ooh, all right. Like, what do you do? Like, where you can't be like, no, I'm bringing mine.
No, you're like,
and because we had all taken, so basically what had happened is everybody took an extra piece of luggage, like a check bag, like a checked one. Okay. So you had two. So our family, we had Alexa had her carry-on, Tasha had her carry-on. I just had my backpack, and then we had one big check bag that was for our family. And then you had another check bag that you got that you were leaving. So it wasn't coming back. The bag and everything in it was staying in Jamaica. Okay. So we had an older one that we didn't really use once we got the new one. And so
you have like donation clothes.
So that's right. So
like
for we were on the list for the infirmary. So I had some donation stuff that I got from work and stuff for Chucha County, because they have like a program that helps with that stuff. And so I hit them up and I was like, hey, this is what we're looking for. So we were able to get some of that stuff from them, and then we got some stuff. So we took over like touchless thermometers, adult underwear, Depends, or diapers, whatever you want to call them. Right. Rubber gloves, sanitizing stuff. So you just filled this.
So it's more stuff for like a hospital type issue.
It's for, like that's the infirmary. The infirmary, yeah. So an infirmary there is like I wouldn't say like a senior center, like a old folks home. It's more of like a hospital, but like in like the hospice stage. So there, if people medically, when they have issues, they can't take care of them. So the family just dumps them off to an infirmary. So they just stay. Okay. They can't leave. They're there. So they just don't have the means or the things to take care of them, like getting wheelchairs. There's no wheelchair access. There's no like here, in the U.S. you have to have like wheelchair accessibilities and all that stuff. No, none of that's there. There's no OSHA. There's no. I mean, you look at the power lines, and they're hanging down on the ground, and cables are all over the place, and they're 8 feet from the ground. Right, you just wads of wire, and there's no code to anything, plumbing, power, all that stuff. So we took all the stuff for the infirmary, but then we get on this bus, and all of our bags are sitting there outside the airport, lined up against this wall, and they're like, "We'll get them in a truck." I'm like, "Hope they got a big truck, dude," because there's like 40 of us, Right. There were some that are not at the time. Not at the time. Once we all got together, I take that back, because some had already flown out, had got there earlier, like to kind of get everything going and all that stuff. So off we go. No bags. See ya. But I always put a check. This is a good little pointer for you, or for whoever's listening. In my backpack, I always take a change of clothes, just in case.
Well, yeah, you never know when your bag's gonna get lost. Even
or
in
like
the States.
that. Yeah. Because that truck, they have to get a truck now. We're gone. We gone. No problem. No. So, no problem. We'll get you bags. No problem. I'm like, oh, here we go. So this truck, who knows when it gets there for them to load this thing in the back of it. And it's basically like a box truck, like a little like Toyota with the back, like and it's cab in.
Like one of those little tiny little Isuzu things.
Yeah, with the little door, and they just pile them in there,
It's
dude.
like
At
golf
least they were
cart size with the
inside.
back on it.
Oh yeah, dude. And it's and they just go ripping down the road, dude. All they do is honk, bro. Everything, and they shift. Everything's a manual, and it's just like bing, bing, wah, wah, wah. And once you go, and like Joel knows everybody. They all know each other, and so it's like these charter bands. So like he gave me his card. So like when we go again, you just hit him up, and he just followed us around all week, like he was hired basically for the week. So we rip into the what they call the resort. So it's not closed in or anything. So there's ones that are all closed in, right? Like the
like
big
fenced
resorts,
off, like a really
like
nice
Sandals.
fenced
There's a
off.
Sandals.
Gotcha.
There's a Sandals there. There's a Baja Principal there. So these ones, but they're walled in, and they're on the coast.
Right.
They're right on the beach.
Like they're their own compound. Like they've
Correct.
got their own.
Yes, 100%. And so it's like ours was not that way. And it's like it was nice. There's no doubt it was nice. So we pull into it, and it's a jungle, So you're driving down this road, and you can see all these resorts that are there, and then it's like a 2-lane road, and people are passing, and you're on the wrong side of the road, and they just like honking at each other to rip around each other, like they're almost a head on, and they'll just beep, beep, and then they swerve with each other. It's wild. So we get to our resort, and then we just get out, and they're like, we're walking through, checking everything out. And they tell us what room you're in, because it's like a couple different buildings. So you go up there, and it's hotter than balls in the room. So you're like, turn the ceiling fan on. It has air conditioning. They're like little mini splits, like you would have in a hotel.
Right.
Kind of like an office, though. They're like the ones that sit up on the wall.
Okay.
So they have that. I can't figure out how to turn it on. I'm hitting the remote. The remote's not working, this, that, and the other. So she comes up, the lady that runs the place, Miss Sandy, and she shows me there's a little switch on the wall. She's like, oh, you got to turn this on. Because they want, basically, like, there's a sign that's right there that's like, when you leave, what's on? Right. So you're looking to see, because they want you to turn everything off.
Right.
So you don't, like, overrun the power grid, because it's not like they're, like it is here. So I get this thing. She's like, is it running? I'm like, yeah, it's blowing. She's like, okay, is it cool air? I'm like, not too cool. But I'm like, what do I say? Like, no. Like, I'm like, that's blowing, so we'll see how it goes.
Right. Cold air in the United States might be a little different than cold air in Jamaica.
Right. Correct. So I turn the fan on, and it's got one of them, like the old school, like, oscillating fans.
Yeah.
So I plug that thing in, and I rotate that around, and I start getting the air flowing. So I'm like, okay. We don't have any bags, so we just throw them a backpack, and they throw their little carry bag, Tasha's up there, and we head down and start checking everything out. Go and get some water and stuff like that. And I will say the water in Jamaica is good. Tastes good. And it didn't give me I didn't have the craps or nothing like that, dude. Like it was.
Like you just drank water right out of the tap.
Right out. Yeah. They would have igloos, and I was like, oh, they're doing water. They would dump ice bags of ice into it. And then I was like, oh, we're getting water. And she's just in the kitchen in the deep sink filling up a bucket, and just carries a bucket of it out and dumps it in the igloo with the ice.
Oh,
and I
it's
was
a
like,
water trough.
Oh, damn. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to be crapping my pants. I'm about to shit everywhere. I was like, this is going to be sketch, bro. I don't know about this. I was nervous. Like, I was thinking, all right, I got some water left that we brought, so maybe I'll just, like, ease myself into it a little bit. Yeah, like kind of just get my body used to it for the first day. But I've been sweating since the minute we dropped out of the airplane, so I'm already gone through like 40 ounces of water. So I was like, whatever. So I just went for it, and then they said it was good. So I was like, okay. And it was, dude. I didn't have one single problem. Like, that's nobody did. So they have good water. It's like spring water, basically, is how they get it.
That's great. I mean, for being a small island like that, to have a spring water, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they just do. Well, I mean, like, yeah, it's plumbed right out of the ground. You just don't know if you're going to have it all the time. So, like, the city has nothing, like, no ordinances or whatever. So, like, first day we get there, when our bags get there, we get them up there. When the room is, you walk into the room, there's a little, like, vanity thing, kind of closet. and then there's a door on the right-hand side, no handle. You just pull it closed, and then it has a little slide latch to lock it, and that's the bathroom. And then there's a bed, and then in the corner is another bed, like a small one. They put like 2 fulls together to make it big enough for Tasha and I, and then Alexa's sleeping on a little full in the corner.
Okay.
And so that's it. And then above her is the AC unit and then the fans. So it's hot. The AC unit is going, but it's not going.
It's just a fan.
Blowing
basically.
air from outside.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we get in there and we get ready for bed. You know, they go through everything we're going to do. So we crawl up into bed. And it's easily 87 degrees in our room. It's humid. Fans are blasting. So I open up the windows and I'm like, okay. When we were kids, we didn't have AC. And so remember, we just had like the fan blowing on you.
Right.
So I showed them the starfish sleep. I'm like, you lay down with your hands and legs out, lay on your back, and don't let your body touch each other. Like, that's how you got to lay. No sheets.
Right.
Like, just let the air hit you.
Right.
And they're just like, oh my gosh. So Alexa's over in the corner, and soon Alexa is like, I can't do it. She's like, it's so hot over here. Because now the fan, it's oscillating, but it's not like getting on her. Because it's kind of hitting the bed and like dwindling down before it gets. So soon she's laying in between the two of us.
Oof.
And we're all laying like starfish on this thing with our hands to our side,
goodness.
feet wide out, in our underwear, just like all of us in our chonies. No, like nobody, you can't. And you're just like, I mean, it's hot. It's 90% humidity at least.
How close are you to the water?
I don't know, 40 yards, 50 yards.
Oh, and no ocean breezes.
No breeze. It just stagnates. Even like where the water where we were at looked like a lake, glass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, until you go out further, and then you could see the waves crashing in because it was like it stayed at like a couple 3 feet, 4 feet all the way for 60 yards.
Are there reefs out there that break it up before it gets there?
Yeah. So it's super cool. It's super chill. It's super hot. Oh,
the reason we asked all this was because Tasha told Alexa told Tasha all this. So when you got there, you were like, all right, this is a decent resort. Like, I mean, it's not the Sandals or it's not 4 stars or anything like that. But you're like, yeah, this is gonna be okay. So with your maintenance skills, you couldn't figure out an air conditioning?
So for sure, it started before we even went to bed that night. Well, the funny thing is, like Vinny keeps talking about, so when we were having our Zoom meetings before the trip, Tasha was like, oh, so it's probably going to be like staying at the Nugget or something in Reno. Because the Nugget's like one of the oldest casinos in Reno.
It's like
and
staying
stuff
on
like that.
Fremont Street in Vegas, right?
Yeah, and so Alexa looks at her and goes, Mom, it's going to be way worse than that. It's like a third world country. and so Tasha's look on her face just like, what? And it's like, yeah, it's going to be like a Hotel 8, Motel 8 at like Galveston Island or something, dude. It's going to be like rent by the hour. So we were joking. Ooh. And then we get there. But of course, the surroundings beautiful because it's a jungle. It's tropical. Like,
right.
We're used to just desert.
It's Jamaica. I mean, it's Jamaica.
It's Jamaica. I mean, you're not going to go wrong with what it looks like out there.
Right.
They have to mow down the grass like all the time. It's green. But it's hotter than balls, dude. I'm telling you, like, and I'm all right. 10% humidity. Yeah, easily. So I had my towel with me all the time. We're doing the starfish sleeping at night. This is so fun. And then we sleep. The air that cools down at night. Get down around like 80. So that was cool. Dude. And
get down to 80. We're good. It's fine.
Yeah, dude, it was fine. Whatever. The fan just on high. Just wailing through the night, about to rip off the ceiling. Oh yeah, dude! I had her on. Everything was on high.
Are there airplanes taking off?
So,
what's
dude,
going on?
Tasha was over to the side, and then like Alexa would move, and like she's like, "Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" Because it's like as soon as your body's skin touches, it's like sticky, hot sweat. So it was just like good. Like it was fun. Like I told him, it was just the Lord letting us know this is how these people sleep.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like they
this
don't
is
have
normal. That's
when their
normal
houses
for
and
them.
stuff, like all these houses that we were going by and up to, and when we were working in the public school and went up to Faith Tabernacle where the church has been building a church and chapel and all that stuff, and then like the school is around there. They don't have air conditioning there. They just open the windows, have the fans on, and stuff like that. And so Miss Sandy did hit me up, and that next day we were out in the morning. We were getting ready after our quiet time and then like our Bible study and stuff. And she's like, "Hey, did your AC work?" And I was like, no. I said, the blower was just going, but it's
No,
not.
man.
I go, it's not working. No, man. No go. No. So she was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I had gone out there and listened to it. The compressor was not running. So it's not, the condenser and stuff. None of that was running. It was just the fan. So I was like, yeah, it ain't. I go, it's not even firing. Like I had even switched it on and off. I thought maybe I could get it to like reset and prime again or something, at least to kick it on. Nothing. It wouldn't even like try. It was probably just locked up, no freon. It was frozen. So dude, the coolest thing though, she was like, "All right, I'm gonna get somebody out here to take a look at it." So we leave, like, cause once you get done in the morning, you have breakfast, and then we're gone. So like I thought for sure I was gonna be doing construction stuff. I was VBS, which is Vacation Bible School. So all the girls and me, we go to VBS. All the dudes and everybody, all the other guys, they go and like work, do concrete, and do other stuff, busting up tile and like doing all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, that's where the Lord needs me today, I suppose. And they're like, we're going to stay like this for the whole week. Because you build relationships with the kids and stuff, or like the people that you're working with or whatever it may be. So I was like, okay, I'm like the biggest guy there, and I'm going to VBS, spend it with the kids.
You're like, yeah, you guys have fun. Hey,
yeah, so I show up with everybody, dude. The kids are just like, no, they're like scared, like, this big old white guy, like, who's this, dude? So they're just like, everybody, like, I walk in. So all the girls walk in, and they're like, and some of the kids were with us, Lexa and some of the other moms that had their kids and little girls with them. There was like 3 of the little girls that were helping us out. And so they all go walking up into the classroom. So it's like one big classroom, but they have it divided, just dividers. So there's 3 of them in there. So there's like smaller ones, medium sized, and then older ones. And they only got to like 6. I want to say the oldest group of them was the 6-year-olds. So they're like 5 and 6, and then the other group was like 4 to 5, and then the other ones were like 3 years old, 3 to 4, or almost, whatever it was there. Windows open, fans going. So here all the girls walk in and the kids, and they're like, and then I step in behind them all, and they're just like, whoop, like it's like crickets. They're all just like staring at me. But they want a guy there too, not only for like the protective part of it, just in case, or whatever, because we're kind of away from everybody on our own, but also so that the kids can see like a man, and proclaiming his faith, and just a man doing this kind of stuff, being religious and being into that, because they don't really see that. Some of them, I don't even know if they have an adult, a male figure 13, in their
they take
lives.
Off, they start working, and they just send money home to family, maybe.
Yeah, if even that, because then the moms are taking care of it all and stuff like that. But first day, it's pretty sketch. You're trying to get them to do stuff, and they're just like, they don't know. But like once you get there, you're there for a couple hours and stuff going, dude. Then it's just like you start getting with a few of them and like just hanging out and just having a great time. Second day, you show up, dude, and it's like hugs, and they're like, they're just so happy to see you and just think it's so rad. And you're just like the kids, and you start, and dude, it was epic. It was super cool. So it was definitely. It was super cool to go through that, and then the perfect timing. They were talking about firefighters, bro. It got me right in my heartstrings, man. Like, so it worked out because we went there the 3rd day we were there, and this little girl was like going on about, like, she was saying something about 911, and I go, what do you mean 911? You don't do that or use that or whatever. And she's like, yeah. I go, what do you use 911 for? And she's like, that's for emergencies. And I was like, oh, because I didn't think they would use 911 over there.
And
right?
they do
I
use
guess
911.
Yeah, because the teacher goes, I go, what do you guys call for emergency? She says 011. She says, or you can do 911 and it'll route it through theirs. Even if you hit 911, it'll reroute on their phone service into their 011 emergency
that makes sense.
call.
All right.
But I was like, holy cow, that's cool. And then she's like, because the firefighters, and I was like, what? And they had it on the board. It was all written out on this chalkboard up there. They were learning about firefighters and their gear and what they wear, fire trucks. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I got this. So I was like, well, that's perfect. They're like, what? I go, yeah, that's me. And they're like, huh? I'm like, I'm a firefighter. Like, that's what I do. I fight fire. And they're like, oh, what? Da-da-da. And I was like, no, see here. And I started showing them, like, the fire trucks and, like, some fires and stuff. And, dude, all of a sudden they're, like, gathered around me and, like, arms around me. And they're all looking at it. And they're like, dude, you're a real firefighter. You're like, woo, woo, woo. They all start running around doing the sirens and stuff. And I was like, oh, man, this is great. And so they're just like, yeah, they're all, woo, yeah. And I was like, God, and they're like, firefighter ran 911, da-da-da-da. And so they and so we went into it. I go, who keeps me safe is God keeps me safe. And Jesus watches over me and this, that, and the other. And they were just like super amped up. But the crazy thing is when we were there, it's like all of a sudden the third day, it rained in the morning before we left. Like when we got up in the morning, I was like, oh, man, it was the first day it rained in the morning. And they're like, this usually doesn't happen. And I was like, what?
Because it doesn't usually rain till the afternoon.
Yeah, it never rains in the morning. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got up, and it feels nice. Like it kind of keeps the chill. Like I say chill, like keeps it within like 80, 82 degrees. Because usually it'd get up to be about 90 with, like you said, 115% humidity.
Humidity, right.
Yeah, the humidity is, and it's this, I work in, here and sweat. So it's like when I'm working outside and get sweaty, it's like what it is. But there, it's just like you just got to be ready. Like your shirt's going to be sticky wet, and that's what you got. When you're doing like that kind of stuff, I don't sweat that much. But so in the afternoons, I did do work, so that was cool. They did put me on project building like a shade cannon because we were up in this other town, right? That's where the VBS was. So you rode for like an hour, 45 minutes, I would say, 45 minutes up in the mountains to go to this school. And so we got there Thursday. I don't mean to be bouncing around, but I did do construction. But Thursday we got there. It was raining in the morning, and we got there. And, dude, like a bunch of the kids aren't there. Quite a few are missing. And I'm like, where's the kids at? And they're like, oh, they don't come like days like this because it's because they don't want to get sick. And so I was thinking, like, was that from us? Like, are they, like, parents found out that white people were from the States there, or whatever? And she says, and I didn't say that out loud, but I was just like, huh. And she goes, because of the weather. And I was like, the weather? And she's like, because it's cold. So they don't want to get sick. They can't afford it. And I was like, what? Wait.
It's 80
and
degrees.
so then it, like, clicks. And all the kids, when they came out to the little auditorium and we did our little Jesus songs and all that stuff and did had them circle and do all that stuff, they all took their sweatshirts off as we were running around doing that stuff. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I didn't even pay one thing iota to them, stacking all their sweatshirts and stuff. And no, like, it never clicked. So then when we get in there and the teacher tells me that it's cold and that's why some of the kids don't come because they can't afford to be sick and all this stuff. And I was like, and then I see all the teachers are wearing long sleeve and they're in pants. And one of them was like in a long dress thing, but she was wearing a sweater. All the windows are closed and the fans are all off. And I'm like, and she's telling me.
Because it rained in the morning.
Because it rained in the morning, it's cold. They're all dressed. They're all wearing sweatshirts and jackets and long sleeve and all. And I'm like, it's 82 degrees. 80 to 82 degrees at that time. I was still sweating.
Oh yeah,
like
of course.
Still had my towel. Still take my hat off, wipe the sweat off, and I was like, oh man. So I was telling her like, oh yeah, we're from the
on freaking
whoa,
YouTube.
Hey. That's how I edit that out. Yeah.
Mom's calling.
Oh yeah, Mom, we're shooting a podcast. Leave it alone.
I'm gonna blur that out.
Yeah,
There's some editing skills you're gonna have to learn how to do. Dang it! I'm sorry. I'm a little
I know when I was
stupid.
looking, I was like, "What?" And then you held up, and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
Yikes. But yeah, the cold thing. I told her, I go, "Oh, we're from Nevada. It's like a desert." She's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Dry, hot desert. It gets like 85, 90 degrees in the day." I said, "But it'll get mid-50s at night." And she looks at me and she goes, "Nope, I couldn't do it." And I was just like, she would think she was freezing to death, dude, at like mid-50, 60 degrees. Dude, 60 degrees, they probably think it was about to snow.
It's winter.
Yeah, dude. They don't even get that in the winter.
Dude,
it blows.
so they
It
don't
was
go out because
crazy.
it's cold and it's 80.
There was probably 6-7 kids per class that weren't there because they just can't, they can't get the flu, sniffles, sick, anything like that because they don't have the means to go to the hospital, nor do you want to.
You can't just go down to CVS and pick up some freaking NyQuil.
Right, yeah.
And then
So,
they did
it's
fix
wild.
your air conditioner in this time, though.
So when we got back, they replaced it, which was cool. I'm sure the church probably paid for it, or maybe they
just put a whole new unit
for us paying. Yep, yanked that one out, put a whole new one on there. So it was pretty.
You could have
cool.
fixed the old one, and then they could have put it somewhere else.
Could have. Well, they just left it up there. The other piece was still up. They just mounted it next to it.
Are you kidding? They slapped a new one on
Because
there.
I was looking at it and I was like, wait, is that the? Oh, they just put one above it. So the unit's sitting on the wall, and they just stuck another one, like kind of catty corner up to it, and then took the old unit that was in the wall for the room off, and then just left the whole condenser and fan and everything sitting outside, the compressor sitting up, still mounted up on the wall, and just mounted another one.
Okay.
And that's it. And I don't know, maybe they'll come fix it and do that. Yeah, I'm sure they will, because they're super, like, I'm telling you, man. When you're driving to these places, so in the evening time, afternoon, I should say, we came back to eat lunch. They did great on serving us food and stuff like that. That was really good. Not quite a balance, like carbs and some protein. Lots of carbs, some protein, no fats. So I would smash like a peanut butter and jelly with when we would, like, if it was with breakfast or even lunch or whatever. Because it was like chicken or something, or goat, or there was some beef that we would do. A lot of chicken. And we did jerk chicken, which is phenomenal. And then they had this sauce on. They did jerk chicken the one night because they sit there and smoke it, like slow cook it all day. It's like what they do everywhere. You're driving down the road and there's just shanties. There's just like 10 shanties in this area, and it's like a block party. Everybody's just like hanging out around it, doing their thing, and there's something smoking, cooking, like. But because it's like no power or whatever, and then you're driving by and everything is like sports bar, which I'm like, guys, not everything's a sports bar. Number one sports bar, and it's like 12 by 12 shack that they rattle can number one sports bar. They ain't even got a TV in it. They probably got a picture of a soccer player in there or something, and it's a sports bar.
Number one sports bar.
Yeah, there's booze and stuff on the back walls when you look in there, but I don't see power running to it unless they keep them in like a cooler with ice. If not, you're just drinking piss warm beer, which I'm sure they do that too. But it's like, it's that way. It's shanties and shacks. But it's like crazy because when we come back in for lunch and eat, then the second half of the day, I got to do construction. We were building the shade canopy for the public school that was up in Chester. So that's where I met some cool kids like Travis and Mikkel. They're cousins, actual cousins. Because I found that out. They all, what's up, cuz? What's up, cuz? And I'm like, is that actually your cousin? Like, that's your cousin right there? He's like, no, just my cousin, you know? And I was like, oh.
It's like my bro.
Like, yeah, so Travis, he's like, oh, it's my cousin. I'm like your cousin, or cousin, like your cousin. No.
And how old are these
We're
kids?
related. 16, 17 right there.
Yeah.
Soccer, they play football. But football there is soccer. Ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Travis kept wanting to get the drill I was using and like take it out of my hand. Like, oh, I could do that. I was like, look, no. Yeah, my dad's a welder. I'm like, okay, that's cool. This isn't welding. Like, he was just like, here, hand me that. He's trying to want to help.
Right.
But, like, I'm like, God, bro, I got this. And then I'm sitting there working. I could hear a chainsaw run. I turn around. He's got the chainsaw. And he's like, zzz.
Yeah.
It's electric chainsaw. I'm like, Travis, whoa, bro. He's like, no, I got this. No problem. I'm like, yeah, problem. I got to take the battery out of it. I'm like, Travis, man, come
Put it
on,
in your
bro.
pocket.
Yeah, dang. So, super cool kid. Mikhail, super rad kid. His mom runs a little shop down there in Chester, like a little market thing. He's got like a sister, younger sister than him that's about Alexa's age, maybe just a little bit older. And she's big. She's a bigger kid, you know. And I was like, oh, is that your sister? He's like, yeah. I go, how old's she? And he's like, I think he said 12 or whatever. He's like, yeah, she's fat. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, now come on, man. He's like, oh yeah. I go, wait, what? And she's all fat. And I'm all, no, she'll grow into it. Like, she's just a big kid, you know, just brother sister thing,
Right.
And then like a little brother. And so he just hit it off, dude. He stayed up there. He had one glove on. I'm like, where's the other glove? He's like, oh, Travis got it. So they each had a glove that they wore around, like a work glove, a leather work glove that they found that we had. So Travis in there helping them paint this inside of the school. We were out there building the shade canopy. The stories, that just how they live, the same thing. They don't have TVs. You know, he did have a phone. Mikhail had a phone. Travis did not. So he was like, hey, let me have that device. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, can you give me a device? I'm like, I don't know, dude. What are you a device? Like, yeah, your phone, like. And I'm like, my phone? And he's like, yeah, so he wanted me to give him one. And I'm like, I don't have an extra phone, bro.
Dang
sorry,
dude.
I can't help you out. If I'd have known. And it's still possible. Mikhail gave me his phone number. His mom's like, give him your phone number. Because he hung out with me the whole time. Like, while we were working on there.
Right.
He went down to VBS with the kids. They were down below us.
Right.
And I got some pictures I'll post on here when we do it. So I did get some pictures like how the school, it's like this rocky knoll that goes down to like this just beat up concrete court, and you kind of just get an idea of where we were at, like what we were doing, and some of the kids and stuff.
If they had a phone, but say it wasn't set up with like AT&T or Verizon or anything like that, were they able to use it? Like, were they able to get Wi-Fi with it? Like, that's how they were using it. Like, they could just use it like an iPod or not iPad.
No, iPod. Well. They have phone services. So Mikhail had a phone.
With services.
With the service, yeah. So he's able to, like, text and make phone calls and stuff like that, or, like, use the data to look at YouTube or whatever. They don't have Wi-Fi. No. Like, not those guys. You know, like, there's Wi-Fi there. Like, we had Wi-Fi at where we were at. I think I got it, like, the second day, maybe. And sometimes it would be on, it would be working, and so I would get a Wi-Fi for a little while wherever I was at, but then other times I'd get my phone out and it wouldn't be there, you know, and so I wasn't going to make any calls or anything like that, because then it charges me $10 a day for the international plan over there. Right. But,
well, I was just wondering if, like, you got that number and we end up getting, like, a few extra phones that people just kind of upgraded and have phones laying around. I mean, so I think use them just like a tablet, basically.
Yeah, you could if they were like at school. I think probably that kind of stuff. But like being around their house, and like the school they don't have computers or, you know, anything like that. Like even the school that we were at, by the Faith Tabernacle up there, it's all everything's handwritten and photocopies and stuff. I think they had like one laptop that they shared. I don't know. They probably just got it themselves. But like the kids don't get computers or tablets. None of them little kids or nothing like that. They just don't have that stuff. So those
government just pockets all the money.
That's what's messed up about it. So you have like with Travis. So he doesn't have it, but he has a story that is just this kid has just been through it, and he's an amazing he's an amazing kid. You know, Mikhail is the same way. He never really talked about his dad, so I don't know how much his dad is in there. He said his dad's house burned down, and so I was like, oh, okay, you know, and so he lives with his mom, but I don't know if they're together or whatever. I didn't really get into that part with him. You know, it's not. I'm not there to pry into his personal life. I'm just there just just to help out, and just show them. I didn't like pour the religion into him or nothing. Like, he talked about it, and so I was like, "Oh, you believe in God?" And he's like, "Yeah, I believe in God." And so we kind of talked about that kind of stuff, and like how I was a rough time as a kid, and if I'd have known when I was a kid to do this and that, and so he just kind of grasped. But he would just, like, when we went to, like, Saturday so 2 days he hung out with me up there working on stuff, and then when we did the youth ministry on Saturday, I told him, "Hey, you know where the youth ministry's at?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We're doing a Saturday thing there too, and we're gonna hang out and this, that, and that." And so he came to it, but I mean, he has to walk, so it's like a couple miles that he walked to come down to it. And so then we just hung out, and then he came back to the resort with us because his aunt come to find out, his aunt was the cook at the resort, at the place we were staying at.
Right.
Like his legit aunt.
Right.
So they came and swam in the pool, or not the pool, but the water, the ocean right there.
Ocean.
You said, watch out for jellyfish. Lex and I were out there swimming around. I got hit with a jellyfish on the arm.
Did you?
Yeah. I was like, whoa. And then, so I had like these marks down there. They're tiny, so just like a sting, and then you can see all the little dots around it.
And they're there like all the time.
Yeah, because then like one of the other girls got hit with it, and she was crying and freaking out. So they poured white vinegar on it and then put some ointment on there, and she was good. And then like the next day,
peed on her?
No. And then the next day we were going, and Alexa's like, "Oh, my leg." She comes up and it's like, "Dad, I got hit with a jellyfish in her leg." Same look, just like my arm, crossed her leg. And I was like, "Well, let it sit for a minute. It'll chill out, And she's like, "Okay." And I'm like, you go on, get back in the water. And she's like, "Meh, okay." Like she was like, "Whatever." Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So that was cool. We did that part of it. Like they tell you that Travis kid, he was like, when he was 9. So they have it's called Tiny Hope. So if anybody's listening and wants to get involved in that kind of stuff, there's a place called Tiny Hope, and they are doing big things there. So I'm going to get involved with them and, donate money monthly or whatever. But then I'm going to go, either me or we will do another trip there. So they bought 15 acres in Jamaica. It took them 7.5 years. They got it 2.5 weeks before we got there. Like, it finally got finalized and everything like that.
Right.
For them to buy this land, and so they were clearing it out. So they're going to build a church and a couple like hospital buildings and stuff up there, garden area, a little track, soccer field. So they're building all this stuff, and they want it to be like plug and play. So like medical people can just go in with their equipment, hook it up, and do this stuff, And it's just a cool thing that they do. Tiny Hope is what it's called. So anybody that wants to get on it, I think it's a great cause. But they're the ones that are like huge into the public part of Chester and the public schools. So they know a bunch of them. Like they're super involved up there. And so they were the ones that I was talking to the guy and helping do that. So Travis, this kid, when he was 9, his mom works at the infirmary. So he had to stay home by himself. So when he was 9 years old, granted he's 16 now, but when he was 9, there was like people going door to door selling cable or whatever, trying to sell stuff. Found out that he was home by himself and assaulted him.
Oh,
like,
no way.
Both ways, sexually and physically. And I mean, it was bad. And so he was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Like, almost died, but after they did what they did to him, and then they beat him up and all that stuff. So he had to go back to his town. Well, everybody had heard about it, and so they just shamed him and like made fun of him. Kids made fun of him and all this stuff. So then he wanted to commit suicide. And Tiny Hope has like a place there where they actually bring the kids in to do the reports, because it's a huge thing there. And but it looks like a prison. Like, you go downstairs and it's like tiled floor, cinder block walls, gray. It looks like you just went into a jail. So that part of it they took, and they put like a mural. They had this one made that they could stick on there, redid the tile, make it more inviting. But he went to them. They reached out, they found him, did the stuff, and they've helped him. So now, I mean, he's a great kid, and he's doing it, but he almost didn't, after all that stuff happened. So his story is pretty cool. It's definitely inspiring to know, and that's just what they know, and that's what they do. They just carry on with that. But it's like crazy because you have all the resorts on the one side, right? The big ones, the like multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar place or whatever it is, and it's just fancy and it's nice and all that stuff. And then you just turn and look on the other side of the hill, and it's just shanties and shacks and poor. So that's all it is. It's like there's poverty, and then there's wealthy. No middle class, no nothing like that. All that money, that's all that stuff, goes just to the richer people and to the government. And all the houses are like half built, 3/4 built. And I'm like, what is up? Well, come to find out, if their houses are under construction, they don't have to pay property tax or government tax. They don't pay government tax. So they don't ever finish their houses.
And they don't have like a time restriction on when they've got to finish their house. It's just under construction.
Just as long as it's under construction, you ain't got to pay. Like Chester's Road was like a washed out, that Greg was telling us, that from Tiny Hope, it was literally like driving up a riverbed. Because every time it would rain, which it always does, and it would hit hard, it would just wash this down the dirt, and that's how they would get up and down. So eventually, like people, the garbage services weren't even going up there, no nothing, because the road was so bad. So all the people from Chester came down and sat in the road and protested, and that's the main road, like for all the tourists.
Yeah.
And so they just sat in the road and stopped traffic. And eventually the government's like, okay, fine, we'll come up and pave your road. Like it's like not even a 2-mile piece of road. And so they came through, and it's still crappy anyways, but at least it's paved and you can drive up and down it now, you know what I mean? But
right, so they work on like the drainage and all that kind of stuff, or were they just like, we're gonna slap some asphalt on here?
They just like graded it and then threw asphalt and was like, there you go. Because there's times when we were going up, you had to slow way down and hit ruts and washouts. And I asked Mikhail, I was like, dude, how's the you guys have garbage service? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, because dude, we were literally, when we would get done with trash, like from painting or whatever, we'd have bags, wrappers, and paper and cardboard, whatever it was. They would bag it all up, haul it up to behind the school, and she would just light it on fire right there. I'm just like, what? And she's all pulls a lighter out of her pocket and turns it on, starts going plastic, paint, whatever it was. I was like, what the? So I asked Mikhail, and he's like, yeah, we have trash. They come once a month.
Wow. I
was like, well, I can now understand why you guys just burn trash, dude. Because they just, it's dude, it'll blow your mind. I could go on all day. But it's, the people there are super nice. They're super cool. Wednesday we had the Faith Tabernacle. We were going to go up to the church and do a Wednesday night church night, but they decided just it'd be easier for them to come down. So they came down to where we were at. We hauled some speakers down from the time when we were working up there. And so they came, they're singers and stuff. They came in the band. They had a drummer and an organ player and all that stuff, dude. And then they can sing, man. They can worship. I'll tell you what, they'll get you in the spirit for sure. But they had 3 kids up there singing. Whew. Yeah, they were some singers, man. They were good.
That'd be nice if somebody went down there and signed them, brought them back here, and said you're going to sing.
Yeah, it was cool. And it's like, I mean, with being on the trip, like they even say, like, don't just start giving out money. Like they don't want that, like just hand out stuff. They don't want it nor to do it. And so, but like Mikhail hit it off, dude. So I gave him one. I had a fireman hat, and then like I knew he was wearing the glove and stuff, and so I had these like Milwaukee level 3 like cut gloves and stuff. And so I was like, dude, you want some gloves? He's like, oh yeah, cool. And so I'm like, here, man. And then I gave him my hat, and just
Did you give him the hat and the gloves? He's going to be a professional contractor by the time you leave the freaking
Keep
island.
him working, bro. Good on you, man. So it was just cool. We just hit it off, talked. It was this, one of those guys. And then we went into town on one of the times and did some shopping and stuff like that, just like at the local place and stuff. And everybody was cool. You know what I mean? Like, I don't ever get too worried about it. But some of the other guys kind of got targeted, like they'll pick your pocket. And
really?
Yeah, but they know they're not they can't use it, like your cards. So they'll pick your pocket, and then they know where you're from or who you were with. So like one guy comes running back and was like, "Hey, Robert lost his card and it has his name on it." And they're like, "Oh, cool, man, thanks." And so like some of the girls are like, "Oh, here," and they give him like $5. So he's like, "Oh," and he took like two $5 things. He's all, "That's all you got?" And the one guy had been there. Yeah, the one guy had been there probably like multiple times before, and he's like, "What? It ain't even my card." He's like, "Get out of here." He's like, Go find somebody else's card," he says. And the guy's like, "Okay, I get it." And it just bounces off. So they watch you, because they were saying like when we were all going like down through the market and all that stuff. I never had anybody do it, but it probably just has to do it. Like, I'm not like saying it was, but mostly because probably the size of me compared to the other guys and most of those people there, like they're not big people. Taller, some of them are taller guys, but they're skinny.
Right.
Like Jamaicans, or whatever. And so I never really had that. I never had anybody. Those guys were like, oh, they would look, and a guy would go like this, and he would look at another guy and point and like tap his pocket. So they would watch as you went up and shopped at somewhere, and you pulled your stuff out and paid or whatever you did, and they would see which pocket you put it back into, and they would let the people, like somebody else, know that it's in there, and then they would come.
They had lookouts.
Yeah, and they would snag it out of your back pocket or whatever it was, but they knew that they would be no use to use it, because like on those little markets like that, it's cash, but you're pulling your whole thing out.
And is it still American cash, or do you have to like have Jamaican money?
Jamaican dollar. Yeah, JMD, the Jamaican dollar. So it's crazy because it's like the way they do it is it's way higher, right? So like a liter of gas, they go by liters. So a liter of fuel is like $216
in Jamaican money.
In Jamaican money.
So it's $2.16 in American, or what?
Right about that. Yeah, a little less. Well, no, it's like it's like $1. I think $1.40 is what they said, or something like that, per dollar. So if it was 200 and something, it ends up being like $3 something, just under $4, maybe right around $4.
Gotcha.
So it's like when we went to dinner, we all went to dinner the one night, and they paid for it. Like the mission trip paid for dinner for all of us the one night. So we went to Scorchies, which is wild. They just go and like sit. It's like a big barbecue thing, and they just bring it all out to you. Then like throw away 10 trays, just massive amounts. I got like a pound of ribs, like beef ribs.
There's your protein,
dude. Yeah. And so, but it ends up being like, it was like $124,000.
Jeez, like,
yeah, and you're just like, what? So I mean, it's pumping money back into the economy in that.
Right, but what does that come out to?
It's like 760 something bucks or something.
But for 40 people, I mean, that's
there wasn't that many there, but it was. Yeah, it's not like overly priced, but it's crazy because you'll be like, oh, I want to buy this, and it's like $3,800, and you're like, what? But then when you do it, it's like ends up being like, $28, $32 or whatever, whatever it may be. So it's just weird because it's not far off. The dollar's worth a little bit more. Say their dollar, yours is $1.40. So if you were getting something for $2, you would only have to pay another 60 cents to equal that. Does that make sense? So that's where I think that's how you would explain it. So, but yeah, it's wild. But yeah, it's just when everything rings up, you're like, whoa. So, and then we went to this one little market because Alexa has celiacs, which, by the way, the place we stayed at, the lady was super cool. And so she knew, Tasha went in there and talked to her, and she would snag to Alexa before each meal and be like, hey, come here, little one. I got yours. And she would make her own plate before they added any, because they use a lot of soy sauce and stuff when they make their sauces. and she can't have that because it's got weed in it. So no wheat. So she would make all of her stuff for her, and then have like a little tray, like a plate, and be like, here.
Right.
But like in the mornings, you know, it was like French toast and or pancakes or whatever they made, but it'd be eggs. And so Lex not a big fan of eggs, so she would try to eat some of them, like scrambled eggs or whatever. But we had brought cereal. Well, she was almost out of cereal, and we found this at a market down in town, and people were like, yeah, we got cereal. So we go in there, and it was like we found one, I think it's like Lucky Charms or something that don't have wheat, you know, that are gluten-free. And so we gave them the change. Dude, so all I had was like a 20, say, or whatever it was, and it was like, we ended up paying $10 for a box of cereal because he doesn't have change. So he hands it to this kid, and he says, go get change. And he just takes off running out of the little market. And I'm like, wait, what? And the guy's just sitting there at the cash register just hanging out. And I was like, oh, this is what, okay.
So you guys didn't convert any of your money?
No. Well, we got some then, so it kind of worked out. It was perfect because then here he comes running back, and he's like, they didn't have any ones. So I got like,
they didn't have ones in American.
$1 American.
U.S. dollars.
So
right.
the guy was like, oh, can I give you this? And then I'll do the rest in Jamaican money. And I was like, that's fine. So he gives me the American 10 and then gives me because it was the cereal still ended up being, it was like $8 for a box of cereal, you know, because it's
right.
that's the, I don't know how else you would say it. That's like the American food. So it has to be exported, right? So it costs more. If it's locally stuff, it's cheaper. But if you're getting, you know, donut jams,
like
they're going to cost you twice as much.
Zingers?
Yeah, you ain't finding those zingers in Jamaica.
Dude, could you imagine if you taken your second freaking suitcase over there with freaking zingers and donut jams?
Oh, dude.
You'd be a millionaire before you walked out of there.
Yeah, just set me up a little hut, #1 zinger bar.
Dude, Braxton, that's our retirement plan right there.
Dude, that's it. Vending machines and ice cream over there would be bomb. Yeah. So, but it was like that, and so basically cost me $10 because he gave me like $2.50 back in Jamaica. So he gave me $200 bills and a $50 bill and then some change.
Wow.
But it was cool because then Alexa's like, oh, that's cool because she's got Scotland money and, you know.
Right.
English,
Then you got a souvenir basically out of it.
Yeah, so she puts it with all of her little money stuff. So, but yeah.
And who knows?
It was
Jamaican
cool.
money might go up. It might be an investment.
Right there.
It could be
like
worth
Bitcoin.
more than a U.S. dollar.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the whole thing, dude. The experience was cool. The people were rad. The little kids. There's this little girl who was just singing. She could sing, dude. She was like the 4-year-old girl. In one of the pictures, you'll see her. She has like her arm around me. But she was singing. Like, I don't even remember what it was, one of them songs, and she's like just going on. So as Tasha's like, oh, teach me one of them songs, and they get up and do like the wheel on the bus, go round and round, or they do like a little Jamaica song, or you know, whatever it is. And then this little girl's like, I want to do one. She gets up there and she starts going on, and I'm like sitting there wondering, like, man, this is like a story in a song. And she's singing and she's doing all this stuff, and then I'm like, okay, and she's done. And I was like, right on, and we clap and all that stuff. None of the other kids followed along, so I was like, this is weird. And the teacher's like, yeah, she just made that up. Like she just threw down like a beat and she just let her rip, just freestyle.
Dude,
just
freestyle, that's good.
Just sang this whole song. And
Did you guys record any of the music?
Yeah, well,
do you have any of it on your videos?
Yeah, I have like.
I mean, just in the background.
I have one like where they're doing the wheels on the bus thing, and all the kids are helping Tasha do that one. So Tasha, you know, she's got like that A
like the
personality.
wheels on the bus go round and round?
Yeah, so they're like windshield wipers and all this stuff. They just, crazy, dude. They love it, man. They're so rad. And then we helped serve lunch. And dude, this lunch, this kitchen is like, dude, this is no joke. It's like the size of probably, I would say, a large bathroom. It's probably it's the size of our bathroom. Is their kitchen
like a motorhome kitchen?
No, like our bathroom in our house. Like you walk in the door of the kitchen, and there's the stove, right, and then 4-foot gap, if that. There's the countertop and a refrigerator, and then right up against the window is the sink. So all in all, it's probably like a 10 by 12 maybe kitchen. And it seems like all the older ladies are the cooks. So like even at our in our hotel, like our resort, was an older lady that was in there cooking. Like Miss Deb, but she was younger. I wouldn't say young. She's like mom's age. But then there's like another older lady that's in there. And I mean, it's hotter than balls in these kitchens, dude. There's no AC. Stove's going. It's like 90 degrees. It's just hot. But they're in there cooking, and they make the kids bowls as rice, like this cabbage looking, like almost like your cabbage salsa.
Right.
Looks like that. And then like one of them was like, I swear to you, it was just cut up hot dogs in some sort of sauce. And they just plop it in there, and you take each bowl out, and each of the kids get a bowl. Unless there was like, maybe in one of the classes, there was like 2 kids that brought their own lunch. And when I mean bring your own lunch, like a piece of bread with like bologna on it and a juice box. That was what the kid had. And then the other was
dude,
just
I would probably cry. I don't think I could handle watching.
The other was just a clump of rice with the veggie, and then and she's in there cooking on the pans, these old pans that you would put like in your camping gear,
right?
If not older than that. Like my trailer has better pans and stuff than there. So I went in there and helped her. Her name's QT. They call her QT. This old lady just like hunched over, leaning on the thing, just slopping food in there. And then one of them was like, so I was like, hey, I'll help do dishes. So she's like, okay. I'm like, so, and she gathered up all the food. They are strict too. Like they sit in there and eat, and then they sit there and they eat all their food. And then when they're done, they come and scrape it all into one bowl, what's left over, and then they stack all their bowls and put the silver on there. And then you carry the tray back there. But they don't get juice until the end, and when everybody's done eating. Then they take cups, and they each get, like, legitimately, it's like a pitcher that they mix.
Yeah.
Like watered down Kool-Aid mix or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they pour it in the cups, and then the kids each get like a half a cup.
Like a shot?
Of juice. Yeah. And then on porridge day, they don't even get juice. Because we were like, oh, do we get them juice? And then the teacher's like, there's no juice. And the kids are like,
oh, gosh.
Because they're trying to like honey dick us. Like, oh, can we get juice? Oh, can I get water? Like the one time they were trying to get water, and the teacher's like, no water. It's not water break yet. And I'm thinking to myself, I've drank 10 gallons of water already. But it's like, because they have to, if not, the kids just like, well, I guess, I don't know, run rampant type thing. Because we did get in trouble the first day. Take advantage of it
type thing.
Second day out was the second day. We were just like in the auditorium. We were playing games, and like we were just running around, just being crazy. And I was just like, yeah, we were playing Red Rover, and just like ripping in circles.
You're like, all right, water break.
Dude. And then like, well, no, we were like, yeah, you got to go to the bathroom. Let's play. Boom. They're colliding into each other, and they're like, we're falling on the ground. We're like, oh, you got it. Scoop them up, throw them back in the seat, slide them across the floor, whatever you're doing. And they're just having a ball. Well, one kid hit his eye, went home, and his mom then was like, thought they got in a fight or what was going on, like why was it that he get roughed up. So she came the next day and was like, when he hit his eye, look at his eye, it's messed up. And the teacher's like, oh, the missionaries are here, and they're like, all the kids are playing games and this, that, and the other. And she's like, well, I got to take him in, his eye's messed up, so you guys need to give me money. And they're like, no, we're not giving you money. And so we felt bad. We're like, hey, we're sorry.
Like he got hurt at school, so now the school has to fork it out.
That's what they want. They just want to try to get some money. And so the teachers are like, no, get out of here type thing. Like, this is not how it's going to go. So they told us, they're like, it's cool. Just don't let them be crazy, but do your thing. Like, you guys are totally fine. But, yeah, they do. Like, Greg was saying he was in his Jeep or his little rent-a-car, and he pulls up, and they were herding goats down the road. And the guy was telling him, the herder was, like, waving him on, like, to go by. So he started driving. And then the herder starts yelling at him and freaking out or whatever. So they stop, and they're like, what? And the guy comes up and is like, you hit one of my goats. And he's like, what? No, we didn't hit a goat. And he's like, yeah, you just drove through and hit my goat. Give me some money. And they're like, dude, where is it? And he's like, it's over there. It's hurt. And they're just like, no. And then the one lady, this Lisa lady, she's like, I don't know, Kentucky or something, dude. She goes with the Tiny Hope one. Yeah. She goes, I went old Lisa style on him. She's like, she jumped out of the thing. She's like, you listen here. Blah, blah, blah. She's like yelling at him, telling him that he told him they could go in this, that, and the other. And he's like, all right, whatever. And then he goes off and just herds all the goats out there. There's no hurt goat. Like they were doing like 1 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And he's like, you waved us through, bro. Like, what are you talking about? So with that, you got
you on camera. Show them your phone.
The little kids are the same way. They would get Tasha going. Because they'd be like, oh, can I get bubbles? They absolutely love bubbles. We should have took like a pallet of bubbles. Like, you wouldn't think. I mean, it's just one of those simple things, like you said.
Like snow in Jamaica.
Yeah, and like and like you said, it is. You feel sad. Like it's definitely like.
But they also, it seems like they kind of.
But they love. But they don't. But they don't. Though. Yeah, they don't. But that's all they know. So when you look at what they're using, when you look at what they're using for school and stuff like that, it's not like here. They don't get Google Chrome tablets and have phones and limited. We had to bring crayons, and they thought it was the greatest thing in the world because we had boxes of crayons. Like the one kid, I'm telling you, I'm like, you're not even coloring, dude. You're just like hoarding the crayons. And he was just like, oh, can I get this color? Can I get this color? And he just had a wad of crayons in his hands. And you would have thought it was a wad of money. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
to them, it probably is.
It is. It's just the best thing ever. So they're just coloring. And then we go out there and we get bubbles going. And they're just like, as I could see them out the window because that day I was doing dishes with Miss QT. And so I'd be like,
right.
So she's sitting there. I'm like, all right. And she's like, all the spoons go up here. The bowls you'll rack up right here. And then, like, as we bring them in and scrape them. And they keep all the food, like, in a thing. I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they feed it out to, like, pigs, livestock, whatever it may be. It never goes to waste. And I felt bad. This is and it's terrible. This is the one time I've ever felt bad. I'm going to come back to the school story, but this has to do with the food story. Was, like, so when you go eat with your kids, right, just a lot of food get left over.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how what would you say, like, in an amount if you...
30%.
So like if Dax ate, say, salmon and rice, how much would he eat? And this is like a slab of salmon, probably 6 inches by 1.5 inches. I don't know if he eats fish, but say even if it was a steak.
I don't know. Let's just say he ate steak. Oh, he does good on steak.
Well, if it's a big piece of steak, would he eat half of it?
If it's a big piece of steak, yeah, I'd say half, maybe a little bit more. Like he.
But you don't ever think about the leftover. You're just like, and they're like, you want a doggy box? You're like, nah, I'm good.
No, right?
Or do you ever get a doggy box?
I get doggy boxes, but I mean it's got to be a good amount. Like it's got to be another meal the next day.
Right.
So but like if it's just a little bit, like if it's like 30% left on there, and you're like, nobody's gonna eat that.
Yeah.
You can throw it in there. It's like, it's not enough to make a meal. It's like, whatever. See ya. Pay for it and walk out.
So we had Alexa got this because she could only get certain stuff. Like a lot of the places we went to, like we'd go to a restaurant and we'd have to leave. It was like we can't eat here because it's just seafood, breaded, or jerked. So she can't eat any of that stuff. So we did find this one. We sit down. She gets a thing of salmon, and it's on rice, and they always put beans in it. So it's just like little, I don't know, black beans or whatever. Like little smoked black beans are always in their rice. So she eats like half of it. And, dude, I felt bad. I was like, man, I go, Alexa's like, I'm full. And it was a thick piece of, this thing was inch and a quarter thick piece of salmon. Like, it was good size.
Right.
But I'd already ate mine, and then I was like, I was full. And I wanted to eat it, but I was like, there's no way, it's too hot. So I don't want to eat a lot because I'm too hot all the time. And so I'm like, no, it's all right. So they came out, and they're like, you want a doggy bag? But we were like, have been walking for this, like, all the way through this whole town. And I was like, I don't want to carry this whole thing. Just like white privilege, I don't want to have to carry this food back with me.
Right.
It's just the worst. I feel like it's the worst.
You should have got a doggy bag and just handed it to some little kid outside.
They come up, and they're clearing the table, and the lady grabs it, and she looks at it, and the lady that's clearing, and the waitress, and she looks, and then the lady's like, what do you want to do this? She goes, she turns, and I was on that side, and I was kind of watching to see, because I could just tell the way she looked at it, that they were like,
it just felt off.
Look how much is there. Like that's a ton.
We could eat this and be
so she said,
full tonight.
She said that. Just take it in the back, and I'll eat it. And, dude, I was just like, I about lost it, bro. I was just like, could you imagine?
Dude.
Like, that's what you're doing. Like, you're working, and they work hard. And then it's just like, they see this half a meal, and it's like, I'm just going to take it and put it in the back, and I'll eat it on my break. You know what I mean? Like, they're not even getting it for free. Probably
and you
would
have totally said, hey, like, she's full. Like, she doesn't eat that much. Like, can I give this to you?
Man,
can I?
Yeah.
Can
so
I do that?
I felt cool that she was like, no, put it in the back. I'll eat it. And I was like, oh, man. So then it just got me like that.
Hopefully she doesn't get in trouble for doing that.
I'm sure they all, I imagine they all do it, dude. Because like I say, it's just, like even when we went to the youth.
Americans.
Yeah, dude, when we went to the youth ministry, so we had lunch, they had little, like, basically like little sliders. They were like little burgers. So when we went to the youth ministry, Mikhail's aunt must have grabbed the leftovers that all the burgers didn't get eaten. Because some of the guys we came in late. We were still working. So they'd all eaten, and then we ate some, but there were still little sliders left. Well, when we got to the youth ministry and Mikhail showed up, his mom and stuff was there, and he went over there, and she dug into her purse, dude, and pulls out those little sliders ones that the aunt must have gave to him. And so he doesn't even know this other kid, a little bit younger than he is, probably like 14, 15.
Right.
And he's got it in his hand, and he's like taking a bite out of it. And this kid is like, what? And says something to him like where he got it. And he was like, and dude just tears it in half and just gives him half of it. And then that kid eats it. Like, doesn't even know him, but is like asking where he got it. And then he's just like, oh, here. Like, shares it with him. And you're just like, gosh, dang, dude. So definitely totally different living. But it was epic, dude. I mean, I know we spent the whole time talking about it, but
I knew we would.
Yeah.
I hadn't got to talk to you that much about it this week. I don't like, all of this is new to me. Like, it's like I just, like, that story right there makes me want to just be like, how can I help?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
for real though. I mean, it's
so
like,
his mom runs that little shop, and Debbie and Deborah and Catherine that were on the mission trip, they're from Jacksonville. They're like best friends. Catherine came with her boy, AJ. He was a stud, dude. He was so good. He's got, I don't know if it's like ADD or whatever. He's got something like off about him or whatever. Great kid, loves Jesus. Like at one point when he was talking at the night, he's like, well, I was preaching in the morning, because he was in our group, but he was just telling us about his the scripture he liked, but he was like, oh, I was preaching in the morning. I was like, yeah, dude, we love your preaching, bro. Great kid, dude. He's just fun to be around, and just this is exciting. But yeah, he's definitely challenged, and so, but those two ended up getting ordered a freezer, and got it sent to Mikhail's mom, because that little market she runs. Her meat was because she didn't have a freezer, like it went out or whatever. So when she would get meat in, she was trying to get it out as fast as she could, but it would go bad. So
dude, I want to send him some SpongeBob SquarePants ice cream right now. It's like,
yeah, right.
Like
I know, dude. And the kids, the kids love Peppa Pig. those little kids in the school, like they were all about
what's Peppa Pig?
Pig is like a.
I don't know. What Peppa
It's like
Pig
it's a cartoon. It's a cartoon, I guess. Peppa Pig, and then it's like an English cartoon or something. I don't know. And Paw Patrol, they're like super. They were just crazy about that stuff. And Bubbles,
like,
dude,
I
I
wanna
want to send them a pallet of Bubbles, dude.
Dude,
Like,
I want to
never
go.
want
Like,
you to
we
run
should-
out of Bubbles.
Your next man trip. This is our next man trip.
Going to Jamaica.
Forget going to like on the road and riding our razors. Like we all just everything that we spend and pack up on that, we just freaking ship it over there,
Dude,
and then we just go over there.
I'll tell you what, the next mission trip, because I mean, like I'll be probably going. I asked Tasha if we'd be able to afford me going in December, because Tiny Hope goes in December and does their Christmas thing. So you take one bag, like your backpack, then you take two carry-on bag or two check bags, and you fill them full of presents.
Full of stuff.
And you just haul it in there and just
that's
do a big
Santa
Christmas.
Claus all day
Just do
long.
Santa Claus, dude, it's legit.
Dude,
But I want to
have a
go
Santa Claus
because
suit.
yeah,
want
that
it?
would be so rad. But I want to go to work because I'm gonna go help them get that property.
Right.
I'm just gonna do. But dude, so we're not gonna be able to afford. I mean, we just out of pocket this whole trip, which is a lot of money. But it's not so bad if you like lived in Jacksonville, because when you pay for the mission trip in Jacksonville, that covers your bus ride to the airport and your flight. Not that it's cheap, but ours we tacked on so much more expenses because we had to fly
out of Reno,
Nevada to Denver so we had to pay for airfare for that, which is a couple $1,000 more.
Well, let me tell you, we were checking out Provo. Like, there's direct flights from Provo to Florida, $86.
Really?
Yeah.
So that saves you huge there. So okay, this is the thing. I will be honest with you. You could still go with us. So we'll do another mission trip, and I would love for you guys to go. So here's the official invite. Like the next one we do, like, because it doesn't. I mean, you want to go to serve, and then you get. You're a Christian, so let's go. Like, there's nothing to say that it's not going to draw you closer, and you're helping people help people, and like you said, just hearing the stories like jerks on your heartstrings, like you just want to help them. And
to watch somebody in poverty lift themselves out just a little bit, is something.
To be where they're at and just to still have faith, and when you look at like how we're so comfortable. And we think
privilege.
Whenever there's any sort of thing that's uncomfortable, we're like, oh, dear Lord, don't let us go. Don't let this happen to me. Like you're praying yourself out of it, Yeah. And these guys are in it, and they still are they look to God and are like spiritually uplifted. And they are way far off than we are, what we would consider uncomfortable.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, dude, it'll be rad. I would love for you guys to go. I mean, it's super cool. It'd probably be like you, Emily, and Dax by that time, because it'd be. I think we'll probably try. I imagine if they do one next year, so we'll do a year. A year from now is what we would look at doing. So, get to saving. Plus, you can do the fountain, like just do some. If you do some good, donation, get some good donations and stuff like that. That always helps out too.
Of course.
But you're looking at about $10,000.
And I think some of our listeners look into. It doesn't have to be Jamaica. Like some.
No,
of our
they do some in like
Panama
and there's a bunch that church does a bunch of different ones in different areas too. A couple different areas. Sometimes they go up to like these outer tribes. I can't remember where they said it was at, but like then you're in the stick. Like you backpack in and. Staying there for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
But
Emily
the Jamaica
has a cousin
thing is
right
super
now
cool.
in Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think they have one
She's
that goes
doing
there.
Africa right now.
Yeah. But like this one is cool because if you go back, like I want to keep going there because then you build relations.
Right. No, exactly.
With the kids and the youth. Like there were some guys that came up and were helping us build the shade canopy. And so we're like, like let them help, because then they have ownership to it and they won't tear it down and sell it for parts.
Right.
Because the Tiny Hope had a little house that was sitting on that property.
Right.
That they were working on buying. So it took them 7.5 years, but that was the property. There was a little house that was up there. So they would go and visit it and just like clean it out, make sure everything was good, and kind of keep on it. And they were going to have
kind of upgrade it a little bit.
Well, they were going to have somebody come like a caretaker and start pay somebody to stay there and kind of work on it and like start to get it ready and tear it apart, like kind of start getting the grounds ready and all that stuff. Then COVID hit and they wouldn't let anybody in. So that thing just sat there. They didn't get anybody. They couldn't find it. They weren't set up yet to have somebody hired to work, like stay on the property and all that stuff. When they came back 2 years after COVID, it was gone. The whole house.
The whole house?
Yep.
Holy crap.
They dismantled the whole house from the ground up. You went up there, you would not even have thought a house was there. They just took it apart, took all it.
That's a free house for somebody.
Oh, yeah. Probably just took it and built it somewhere
else.
else.
Took it apart and built it, put it back together somewhere else,
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
I was just like, what? So it's like, even like when we're building a shade canopy and we run these big old these bolts through, nutted them up. He's like, you sure you don't want to turn that around? One of the local guys was helping us. I was like, well, I don't want the inside for when the kids are, running around to catch it because it's sticking out. He goes, yeah, but on the outside they can just unbolt it and they'll take all your stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Didn't even cross my mind to think like that.
Right, Loctite.
So what I did is I ran them all in, tightened them all up, and then just took and just grinded off with a pair of pliers, just gnarled up the threads so you can't back the nut off.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Either that or you could probably shave off the nut so it's just rounded out.
Yeah.
Strip it out to begin with, but
yeah.
Loctite might help a little. Not a lot.
There's no Loctite. Good luck trying to find it, dude. Like,
put it in your freaking extra bag.
You could have, yeah. There's no hardware, trying to find a hardware, like with bits, and like you got to go to this one.
So how did you guys get all the bolts and stuff down there?
So they have a Connex box. Well, the one guy, Greg, he brought them in his, he had them in his carry-on, and they ran it through the thing, and they pulled it out, and then they're like, you can't take these. And he's like, what? They're like 8-inch freaking bolts, dude.
Yeah.
With nuts and washers on them, and he's like, "Wait, what do you think I'm gonna do with these? They're bolts." They're like, "No, you can't take that
somebody
on there."
In the face
so
with
he
it?
He had to go back out, get a check bag, and shove it all in.
Oh,
combine it, and then go check a bag, and then come back. They have a Connex box that they got. They're friends with the guy that runs a gas station down at the bottom of Chester, that lets them store a Connex box on their property, and they have it all locked up, but it has like tools, and just as they go and they build.
So do they ship it like UPS or FedEx, or do they have to ship it on a boat?
They have to they order whatever it is that through a shipping company like Amazon or whoever it is through there, and then they go to like a shipping company. There's no mailboxes and stuff. You have to go into a shipping place, like what would be like a post office, but it's like a commercial shipping. So it'd be like, we have one here like for businesses, like 3D shipping.
Okay.
So you would, because I talked to Mikhail about it. So you basically would just go down to the shipping place and be like, hey, I have a package that's coming, and you have all your information, and then they go grab your package for you and get it, because there's no mail service. Like, they're not running mail up to your house.
Like, there's no FedEx trucks driving around, UPS or post office.
Nope.
So most likely, if you wanted to ship something like 4x4s and bolts and all that kind of stuff, you'd put it in a shipping container, ship it by boat.
Yeah.
Somebody on the island would have to unload that
from the dock and
container. Yeah.
But they have like hardware and all that stuff. It's just they're very minimal of their stuff. Or like you go to one, get some stuff, you got to go, down the road to some other one that has the lumber, and you got to get the lumber, and then you got to go to this other one that might have some bits or something that you could get. Like, he tried to give me a step bit. I'm like, dude, if I had a step bit, it would be perfect. And he's like, they don't have a step bit.
What is a step bit?
Like your bit, it's like a cone, looks like a cone bit, and it's just as it drills down, it steps in size, so it can go.
Oh, okay, yeah,
7/16, half inch.
So you can recess the freaking.
Yeah, so when you're running into the metal pole, you can just drill through it, clean it out, and make the bolt fit through it. But they didn't have that. They had just regular steel bits. That was it. So you just use what you can use. You know what I mean? Fold up ladders. They didn't have like extension ladder or nothing. So
like if they had a Home Depot down there, the whole island would probably change.
Yeah, but there's just the thing of it is there's just so okay. You want to know how they poured concrete for the school, the little driveway.
Right.
They don't have a mixer, and they don't have cement trucks that come up there. So they had one wheelbarrow and like 15 buckets. So they take the sand. And
like 5-gallon buckets?
Yeah. They dig the sand. They throw it out on the ground. So they're pulling this driveway. They're going to pour a driveway that's behind there. So they're mixing. They throw the sand and the rock, and then they have
the sand
bags.
they're digging. They're right out of the ground.
The sand's a big pile. No, the sand's a big pile sitting over there.
Oh, okay.
You take it and you dig the sand over. They wheelbarrow it over, dump it on the ground in front of where they're pouring the cement, right? Well, supposedly. Okay. Then they throw some rock in there and they're mixing it, and they dump bags of cement on it, and they make concrete. Then you scoop it shovel it into these buckets, and you do a bucket brigade of like 10 dudes. And you just grab a bucket and you hand it to the next guy, and then all these buckets go down and they dump it into a pile on the ground, and then and then it rotates back and they send the empties. And once they get a bunch on there, the guy starts screeting the concrete. And then while they're mixing then they're throwing bags of cement, running some water on it, mixing it on the ground with the shovel, bucket it up, and then they just bucket brigade it and you dump it. And then they screed it, and you just work your way down to pour concrete.
By the time you get done with the end of the driveway, the first part's dry.
Basically, I mean, you're doing sections of, I don't even know what to tell you. But it's just like all guys are working, so you could be it, but they can't afford, like, you can't pay to have a cement truck come up. They can't afford having some like mixers, like automatic mixers. So these guys, and it's just working guys. Like keeps more people working, I guess, instead of just sitting around.
So if you were to donate, say a mixer, like a Harbor Freight mixer,
mm-hmm.
And like that town would just burn it up. Like they'd probably be like, "Yeah, you donate to the town."
Well, so this is the problem. Yeah, the problem would be is if they used it and it broke, there's no fixing it.
True. That's what I'm saying. Like they just use it until it was done, and then it's done.
And then they just go back to the way they were because they couldn't afford to fix it or buy parts or
they take a tire off of a car, wrap a freaking
they would do all kinds. Yeah, they would engineer something for as long as they could, but it's wild, dude.
That's awesome that you did that. Like, that just blows my mind.
It was, dude. It was so cool. And just
But I hope you could put some of those pictures and videos or whatever.
Yeah, I got some of them, and I'll go through there and kind of look, see what I can and what I can't put on there and stuff. Because I got some. So Alexa was
have her face out there. She's in a lot of those pictures.
She is, and her Jamaica name is Alexia.
Oh, nice.
That's what she was like a hit, dude. Like all the girls would be like, Alexia, 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 and she knows all their names, and they would sit there and paint her nails, and then they loved her hair. They just loved like her, like that long, straight hair. So they'd always be just rubbing her hair and grabbing it, and even the ladies like in the kitchen would be like, come out and be like, "Hey, honey, is your food good?" And they're like just stroking her hair. They just love it, dude.
Start touching it.
All the little girls, all the little girls wanted to braid it like nonstop. But Alexa's hair is so thick that when you braid it like that, it just knots up. So we didn't let her braid it. They wanted to, but like it's funny because when I was doing dishes, Miss QT, she was like, "What's taking you so long?" I was like, what? She's all bagging on me, dude, and she just laughs. She's like, you're slow. I'm like, what? I'm making sure it's clean. She's like, get on it. You know, I was like, oh man, I can't even believe it. I go, I'm just going slow so you can take a break longer. And she just laughs. So I'm sitting there cleaning, and I'm talking, dude, it's like 60 bowls and silverware. I'm like there for like over an hour. And
they're like swipe and go,
just
swipe and
rinsing
go,
it, and the sink's too low, so I'm like halfway bent over, and my back is on fire. So I see why she leans for sure. Tasha comes in, starts talking, and I turn around, and Miss QT, dude, she's just sitting in the chair with while just sleeping, dude. So it made my day. I was like, perfect. You should be sleeping and have a little rest. But then, like but out at the youth ministry, we built an office. And so this was like a huge thing too, man. Like, this was crazy. This what got me. It almost got me to tear up on this too, because we're building this office. Like, they framed it in, and then they're like, "Hey, can you come help us? Like, you're taller. Can you reach an 8-foot ceiling?" I was like, "Oh yeah." So they to sheet it, but it's like they're using panel board. You know, it's like, well, it's plywood, but it's 1/4-inch plywood. So we're walling it like drywall, but you're using 1/4-inch plywood.
Right.
And so we're throwing this panel, this wooding stuff up, and the lady comes in, and they built like little desks down the cubicles, kind of for them and stuff, because it was just a big open room to begin with. And she comes in, and she is just in love with it. She's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, she starts tearing up. She's like, "This is so great. I did not think it would be like this." And she steps into where we're in there, and dude, it's hot. We're sweating like that part. It was like humid, and we're like stuffy because we're stuck inside this building. Right. And up, like, I'm holding it up, or there's some guys are on the ladder that could reach, and she is absolutely floored that we put a ceiling on this thing. Like, she's like, "I can't. Oh my god!" And you guys, I can't believe you put a ceiling. There's a top on it, or whatever she said. Like, we put a lid on it, and she was just like, beyond, like, just break down, tear up. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, well, yeah, like, we weren't going to leave it open for the tin roof. Like, I mean, it's a roofed, but
right,
yeah, dude, she was in love with it. And I was just like, I couldn't believe that she was that excited about having a ceiling put on this thing. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So it was, but yeah, little Alexia was all over. She did red rover, and she probably ran back and forth like 50 times. Because it's a
good thing she does CrossFit.
Oh yeah, all the girls were like, everybody just wanted her, because like, here she is playing. They're like, "Alexia, send Alexia over. Send Alexia over."
Oh, so they were just sending her back and forth.
Yeah, just kept, because they wanted her to be on their side. So she's just back and forth, man. She was having to get after it.
That's awesome.
Pastor Joby liked her. We talked about coyote hunting, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like telling him how like Alexa goes, and I said she has a phenomenal pup distress call. So he's like, "You think she'll do it?" I'm all, "Oh yeah, call her over here." So he's like, "Alexa, come over here," and she comes over, and he's like, "I hear you can do a pretty good pup distress call." And we're like sitting there at the table, and she's like, "No." And she looks at me. I'm like, "You can do it. Like, go ahead. Like, it's okay." And so then he's like, "Yeah, just do it." And so she does it, and he was just like, "Holy cow, dude." He goes, "That's amazing." He's like, "That sounds just like it." He's like, "Holy." So, dude, every day, that was on like the Monday night we talked about. That was the first night we were there. And he would hit her up, "Alexia." He'd go, or Alexa. He'd go, "Alexa, give me that pup distress." And she'd be like playing on the beach. She'd turn around, run up over there, and she's all, wah. She'd do it again. He'd just be like, "Man." So then he'd get it, dude, every day he had her do it. But then, like, after the second day, he comes up, he's like, "Hey, do you think if I taught you how to do some like turkey calling and some whitetail, you'd be able to get that down too?" He goes, "Because I'd love to take you hunting if you could do some turkey calling and some whitetail." And I was like, "She probably could." But he loved it, dude. He'd be sitting down there like at the beach, him and his wife, and all of a sudden I'd hear him go, "Alexa," and she'd look up. I'd look over like, "Oh man, who's calling her?" And it'd be him. He'd be like, "Give me that pup distress."
Yeah. Give me that.
She just hit it, and then a dog would come in, and dude, their dogs, they're like wild dogs. So they had to tell the the kids like don't pet the dogs. Like they're not like the American dogs.
Right.
Like they don't treat them that way. They're
So
like
she's calling in freaking
yeah,
dogs.
dude. And there's like roaming around the beach and stuff. Everybody was laughing, saying that she's calling in dogs, but. So they don't have collars. They're like skinny. So the kids are like, oh man, and they're like, don't feed them, don't pet them because they don't have to get shots or anything like that. You don't want it to bite
wild
you.
or rabid. Yeah.
Yeah. So they come up and they're friendly, but they want food and they're skinny and they're gross looking, but they're just like they just do their own thing. You don't get bit by it because they don't do shots, and they're like, you don't want to go to a hospital here. So we'd kind of have to try to shoo them out and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, I think I would love for you guys to go, man. I think everybody should do it. But,
I agree.
Yeah,
That sounds like it was a good time.
It certainly is. I'm hooked. Dude, I drank the Kool-Aid, so I'm in. I want to keep doing them. So we'll start saving up for the next one.
That's awesome. That is way awesome.
No, we should probably get out of here because I think you got to go to bed.
We're at 2 hours.
Yeah, because I'm off tomorrow, dude. Juneteenth.
I might be
Booyah.
if I can pass.
Oh,
Emily's
man.
off tomorrow.
If you pass tomorrow, we might have to shoot another episode.
Might have to. I got some remodel to do that we'll talk on the next episode because that's turned into a nightmare.
Yeah, you got to you can send me that video of you doing you sent me the video. So on the next one, we'll talk about it because I got some Vinny doing some demo work, which would be pretty good.
Cast iron tub.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, because then we were
Hey, I appreciate.
Dude, hey, thanks for letting me sit here and just ramble on about it. But I mean, that's a big deal. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. It was a phenomenal thing. I mean, it was something. It far exceeded my expectations for sure on what
No, it sounds
not
amazing.
only what my family got out of it, but just looking to God and just the way He works is truly amazing. And if I could just drag everybody along in something like this and like going back and forth with you, and I appreciate your questions and stuff like that, and just conversating about it with you, dude, because it's like one of those once in a lifetime things where I think that not ever have doing it, but then going and doing it, like religious or not, like just to go and be a servant is phenomenal. So it was something else for sure. I'll never forget it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
we've got so much to talk about on the next episode. You and I have got to talk about our amazing race video that we've got to make. I've got some other notes in here. Ford versus Chevy. So we'll give you guys a little bit of taste of that so you guys can think about that on the next episode. But this episode was great and humbling, and it made me like I could sit here and still keep talking to you for another hour about your trip.
We
just
probably
because
could.
I know we could.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
it just sounds like whether it's Jamaica or somewhere else, like it makes me think, where could I go just to better even one person's life?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which makes
huge.
which makes you feel like we could.
100%.
And everybody should feel that way.
Yeah.
Whether it's you're helping them, you're going to go down there, you're going to teach them about, Jesus and stuff like that, and following their heart and everything like that. But also just to kind of help them realize that there's things that they could do, that they don't have to follow what they've been taught the whole time. I mean, I got some of that out of your story with Travis. It's like if he knows there's a light at the end of the tunnel, per se. I mean, it's that there's somewhere that he's got you to look up to. He's got that kind of stuff to look up to. It's like there's a lot of hope there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's just, I think, just with and you direct them towards God so that when you're not there, they know that there's somebody looking over them and that will help them out of it. But then also they can see how you, or like how I look to God and have risen myself in that way through glory to Him. And so like they see that, and they see that a man is able to look to God. And so like you said, they look to you, and then you want to put God in their life because you're not going to always be there.
Right.
And that gives them somebody, and they see that and know that, and so that's where that where I was saying, like, I want to keep going back to there because you can check in on them and build a relationship. And what I would love to take you with me. Oh yeah, dude, it'd be epic. It'd be just fun, and you would just pop. It would just bring it would bring everything out of you that would be what all those people, not only just the Jamaicans, but like the mission people would see too. You would just bring light to a lot of people, and it'd be epic. It'll be fun. We'll do it.
Thanks.
We'll just do it.
It's a goal. It's a goal. There you go. You
we just got to prep it out and just be ready. You know, hey, maybe not next year. Maybe we got to save up and do it for the next. But I think I would for sure. It's on now because you already said you would like to do it. Well, we'll make it happen.
I think it's an inspiration. Like your story is a very big inspiration for me and I think a lot of people. So
yeah, that's
I think
cool.
it's goals for people.
Yeah, well, if anybody needs any information on it or whatever, hit us up. Email, flapping your gums at yahoo.com, or you can just message us or whatever. And I got a bunch of information from like Tiny Hope and stuff like that, and then just doing that. So we'll be doing more. But yeah, dude, it's cool. It was fun. I appreciate the time. Thanks for letting me share the story with you. Solely our mission episode, huh?
Yeah, dude, it was a great episode.
Yeah.
It's a long, deep episode, and I hope people love it.
Yeah, it definitely went a lot longer than I thought. So, I guess we missed a week, so we just made it all up on this one.
We just did 2 in 1. That's right.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. God's good, and so I love the trip. But we'll bank all of our next stuff for the next episode. If Vinny's able to play a little hooky tomorrow, maybe we'll just drop another one, and we'll just double up on it and get him out there. So, all right, well, love you, bro.
All right, bro. Love you too.
All right, everybody. All right, later.
Peace.
Peace.